Good morning. I would like to thank members of the Select Committee for the opportunity to address you today, both as an individual and also as a representative of Responsible Campers Association Incorporated. I do not want to bore you going over material already covered in our written submissions, which represents only the tip of our research and investigations into freedom camping. Our research, over the past nearly 6 years, has been undertaken by people passionate about freedom camping. This has been done voluntarily, and estimates suggest approximately 10,000 hours have been provided in support of our organisation, our research and our accreditation program. We do not believe any other organisation nor government department has carried out anything like the degree and depth of investigation that we have. We believe as an organisation the correct way to address the Minister's concerns around public defecation and pooping in waterways is via the Summary Offences Act Section 32, not by changing 4 Acts of Parliament and no less than 36 sections of legislation. The Minister's proposed solutions will do absolutely nothing to address these issues, as both the Freedom Camping Act and the voluntary New Zealand Standard of Self-Containment only apply when actually camping, not while travelling from place to place. By contrast, the Summary Offences Act applies to all people at all times on public land, including freedom campers. Currently, there is no evidence pointing to any specific group, but when considered, freedom campers as a group are the least likely to have to bury roadside poop, and if they did, they understand the importance of burying it. Freedom campers tend to be real outdoors people who care for our environment. Same cannot be said about campers, with some RV clubs appear to attract as members and who lack any outdoor experience and or knowledge. Neither can we say the same about others that travel our highways and byways. How many everyday travellers have a loo in the boot or carry a spade to bury the poop? RCAi are aware of an official information application to the Minister asking if he knows of Section 32 defence, and if so, how long he has known about it. As of last evening, his reply is 83 days, nearly 12 weeks overdue. The Minister's inability to consider Section 32 as a means to address his concerns shows, in our opinion, a failed logic and inability to see through what is a failed narrative spanning 50 years, which he now proposes to attempt to use as a solution. We suggest amending Section 32 will address his publicised concerns and is actually the correct legislative tool to do so. In concluding that Section 32 of the Summary Offences Act is the correct legislative tool to address concerns, now that the Minister has seen fit to open the Pandora box, which is certified self-containment, it is now owed to the taxpayers of New Zealand to continue to inquire and determine the place, if any, that certified self-containment has in New Zealand's freedom camping future. The undue influence and damage to the social licence of freedom camping caused by NZMCA's somewhat mindless and unjust obsession with certified self-containment also needs to be addressed. That is owed to the taxpayers of New Zealand after such a wasteful use of taxpayers' funds and resources on the Minister's bill to date. Another issue was highlighted to RCAi last weekend, being the first long weekend of the new camping season. The issues resolve around council wardens and contractors shining torches into people's RVs at night in search of self-containment certificates and to enable the reading of the information contained therein. This is an extremely frightening and scary experience, particularly for single female campers, and even more so if they hear male voices talking outside. Council wardens and contractors often work at night in pairs for reasons of safety. This is reported as happening any time between 8 p.m. and 5:30 a.m. Personally, I have had it happen to me at 2:30 in the morning. RCAi knew of this issue back in 2018 and was in fact one of 14 major issues with the New Zealand Standard that was raised with us, as we sought to consult with stakeholders and the camping public the solution was both practical and easy. The solution was to extend the yellow colour change of our accreditation cards to our bumper stickers. In so doing, our bumper stickers themselves demonstrate valid accreditation. There is no reason for council wardens to be shining torches inside RVs looking for our accreditation cards. Our bumper stickers serve the same purpose. They are in a similar size to the often copied blue certified self-containment stickers. In removing certified self-containment, or anything similar to the New Zealand Standard 5465, the above issue is resolved, as well as the need to distinguish between different modes of campers, homeless, the truckies, the water users that camp on river banks at night, and the other campers as defined in Section 5 of the Freedom Camping Act. The need to change 4 acts of Parliament and over 36 sections of legislation also becomes unnecessary. The hostilities often reported between certified and non-certified campers is eliminated. Over 50% of complaints to councils that relate to certified self-containment, which are actually unaccompanied by actual complaints of camper irresponsibility, also disappear. Moving forward, RCAi believes that government needs to decide with some urgency and to advise councils and stakeholders that certified self-containment has zero legal status or place in New Zealand's freedom camping future. This will help to prevent the hostilities and other frightening situations as mentioned from occurring this summer. This would also align with the judgment of the Blenheim High Court that councils must comply with the intent of legislation when making bylaws. Certified self-containment is lobbied for inclusion in the Freedom Camping Act by the New Zealand Motor Caravan Association ultimately failed, therefore itself demonstrating that it is non-compliant with the intent of the Freedom Camping Act. We request a government-led inquiry into the freedom camping situation. Why has the regulatory response to some camping modes become so skewed? What is doing the damage to the social licence of freedom camping? Why are other solutions not gaining any headway? Who is spreading, and why are assumptions and hearsay so dominant in freedom camping circles? These are just some of the questions that demand an answer. We suggest that only by undertaking such an inquiry will government ever be able to enact freedom camping legislation that will not be met with civil disobedience. Most campers see proposed legislative changes as simply the government bowing to the narratives of the New Zealand Motor Caravan Association, which campers are absolutely fed up with, while they have been put on a government-provided pedestal forsaking all representatives of freedom campers. NZMCA do not represent freedom campers. RCAi recommends that this committee report back to Minister Nash with urgency regarding the potential failure of this bill and not wait 6 months. We suggest this so the Minister has time to at least complete an inquiry prior to the next election, as otherwise any change of parties is likely to see any progress made back at square one. We see a need for an advisory group to be set up to advise councils and other stakeholders of their abilities and inabilities under the Freedom Camping Act. Currently, we have a situation where many councils are unhappy with the advice being provided by local government New Zealand, who in turn rely on New Zealand Motor Caravan Association as a preferred partner for advice. It is something of a catch-22 situation where NZMCA's narrative is often leading or misleading the focus of any advice given to council. Many supporters of RCAi are asking why freedom camping is even coming under the tourism portfolio, as it is, even when undertaken by international tourists, a recreational activity better suited to come under the sport and recreational portfolio currently held by the Deputy Prime Minister, the Honourable Grant Robinson. Footnotes in the final thing. In our written submission, we noted that the Fresh New Zealand survey that NBIE commissioned in 2020 had made a fundamental error in failing to distinguish between certified self-contained and just self-contained, only mentioning certified self-contained and non-self-contained. We can now confirm the same fundamental error occurred in the Clark and Allen survey MBI commissioned last year. We note that this is not helpful to the narrative often spread by NZMCA that members in non-certified self-contained campers need to have facilities provided for them by local councils. Nothing is further from the truth. As an organisation, RCAi expect all campers to be self-contained, the basic ability to retain and manage their waste, but not certified, as certification is discriminatory between the different modes of camping. Education has, as Minister Nash's consultation process also pointed out, is of huge value. Until such time as surveys such as these are actually undertaken with integrity and credibility and address this issue that RCAi first raised nearly 5 years ago, they will continue to skew the regulatory response in an unjust and an undemocratic manner. Many campers identify as being self-contained but are not certified, and RCAi consider these campers to be more responsible than many that identify as being self-contained. And the reasoning for all that is that many of the self-contained certified campers currently are actually self-certified as a condition of club membership. They get a number of benefits from doing so, including being able to camp on some non-compliant council campsites that require certified RVs only. Those that identify as self-contained generally are certified self-contained to manage their waste and to care for the environment. They actually get no real benefits from doing so. With that, I open the floor for questioning.